All right, so here we are. The number 1, 2, and 3 things about cutting fish is that you need a sharp knife. If you don't have a sharp knife, I strongly suggest you go get a sharp knife. All right, so our first cut is going to be up next to this lateral fin right here. This is collar, right? So we're going to go right up next to that and up into the head area. Okay? Now, if I went straight across, look how much meat I would miss. Okay? And that times 2 is a lot of meat. Okay? So my next cut, I'm just going to finish that cut out this way. I'm going to go along that same line because there's a little bone there that if you try to go straight across, you're going to get frustrated in step 1 in the fish winning, you know, so we're not going to let the fish win. The other reason for doing this is that we want to catch this nape. We want to cut this nape. We want to include that in the fillet, okay? So the next little trick is to bring the fish to the edge of the table, and we want to do that so that we can get the right angle. Now, if you look at it, if you're in here, and if your hand's in the way, you're not holding properly, you might not be able to get the right angle. This will if you bring this up here, you can get right in there, okay? Now, the third little trick is, on a codfish, this dorsal fin area, the skin right here is a little thinner than the other parts. So it's a good place to get the knife in. So look at that. See how easy that was? Okay? Yes, it has yes, I am using a nice sharp knife, but that area does make it a little easier to get in. So once we're in there, I'm just going to extend this a little further down a little bit, and I'm going to open it up, and I want to check to see if I'm on top of the bone. Methodically, gently, cut the fish slowly. Okay, see what I'm doing? And you can see how I'm on top of the bone here. Okay, that's where you want to be. And if you go in right at that dorsal fin, you'll be there. Okay. So here we go. We're just going to make little cuts, little tiny cuts, all the way with that nice sharp knife that you just got sharpened. Okay? See how I'm doing that? Now for this one, I make a back cut like this because it's already broken through the skin. It's actually a lot easier to do it this way than trying to do this way. Okay? So look at that. I just go like that, and it's done. Okay, but I'm right on the bone, so it's easy. Now, angles of your knife is important. Okay, up and down like this with your wrist, and how you're holding the knife, the angles like that are very important. So I say that because this cut, not only was I right along that bone, but I was right at the right angle. That's what I was able to do that. Okay. So now we're going to go back to those little tiny cuts. Just keep opening that fish. See how I'm doing that? This is a beautiful fish, by the way. Look at that. And then when you get up to about here, you can see where the nape bone starts to come around. This little line of bones. This to me is the hardest cut, right here. I give it a little tiny yank, and with this part of my knife, I just force through a couple of the bones. Okay, that's the hardest part. Now, notice how I didn't have my thumb in here. Okay, I'm holding it around the shoulder and just grabbing the nape bone, the nape area. So I push my knife through a couple of bones, and I'm ready just to continue doing that cutting. See that? See how I'm doing that? Taking my time, and I'm just letting the knife glide along those bones. Okay? Okay, see what I'm doing there? Okay, see, see how we did that? Now, I just put it down, but you could have easily just finished that along like that. And there you go, there's your fillet. When you're cutting your fish, you want to have the head of the fish facing the hand that you have your knife in on these round fish. So I'm a lefty, so this head's facing to the left. So when I go to do the other side, the head's facing towards me. It's pretty basically the same way, just a little backwards. We're going to take that first cut up by the collar, again, head up into the head, separate that collar from the rest of the fillet. Now, instead of coming into the dorsal, I'm going to come down to this rear fin here. It's a little thicker, but it's the skin is a little thicker, but the good part about this is once you're in, you're really right on top of the bone. You're right there, and the bone is flat against the table at this point, so it's real easy to do. So, like I could just pull this along and get it done, but I want you to do the same thing that you did on the other side. Open it up and just start making little cuts. Okay? You see how I'm doing that? You can see I'm right on the bone. Okay? And I'm just sliding my knife right along the bone. Okay? When I get up here, I'm just going to head up into that shoulder area and continue to do what I was doing, just these little tiny cuts. I'm only cutting into the meat probably half an inch at a time. That's at the most. Maybe it's even a quarter an inch sometimes. But see how I'm doing that? Just taking these little cuts, and I'm just opening it up. Now, on the second hardest cut is this side, this shoulder as well. I take it and I grab the edge like this, and I do the same thing with this part of the knife. I just I push it a little bit like that, and then continue along like what I was doing with the other side, opening the fish up. Okay? And then I'm gonna cut through now I have a little fin there, and if you end up with a little fin, it's no big deal. Just take the knife, slant it out, and cut the fin off, and away you go. Now we have two nice fillets. What do you think? So, because you were in your kitchen by yourself and nobody was watching you, right? When your friends come over for dinner, you can say, look what I did. And I did this in 3 or 4 strokes of the knife, and no one will know, right? For skinning, the first thing I do is I want to make sure I got all the fins off. See, I got a little bit of a fin there. I want to take it off just so that it makes it easier to skin. Now, the trick to skinning is to pull the skin as you push the knife. Okay? Everybody got that one? Pull the skin as you push the knife. So I push the knife, I flip it up so I can grab the skin, get a good grip on it. And see how I'm pulling the skin? And I'm just kind of pushing the knife a little bit. See, I didn't really move the knife too far, but I did pull the skin. And that's what you get. Or should I say, that's what you get. Same thing on the other side. I take a little bit of a bite, and if you're having trouble holding onto the fish, you can just make a little slit into the skin. Oops, a little better than that. So you can stick your finger through it. Just give it a little more grip. Okay, same thing. Push the skin, push the knife, pull the skin, and there you go. There you have it. If you can get it like that, you're doing well. The reason why we left this nape on is to more fully utilize the fish. One of the other things that we want to achieve in this project is to utilize more of the fish. If this was just a fish that I was cutting at my processing plant, I would only get 40% out of this, out of this rack, because I would have left this nape and everything and all that other stuff. This meat would only be 40%. By doing this alone, I'm up to 45% or 47%, but depending on the time of year and how fat the cod is. So already we're ahead of the game. So that's why we're leaving this nape on. So to make it boneless, I'm going to run my knife right along this line here. On both sides of the fillet, you can see a line that runs right along this edge here, and that's where the bones are. So on the shoulder side, okay, what I want you to do is to run your finger down to the end of the stomach cavity. You can feel where the last bone is. Take your knife and just run it right along that line on the shoulder side. Okay? Now, see that? Now just take another little cut about 1/2 inch or less on the other side of that, and you have all the bones. You have all the bones out. That's it right there. Now that should be That's a boneless fillet right there. Now you can take this stomach lining off if you want. It takes you 2 seconds. See how that is? And then you fold that over like that, and you get another portion of meat out of it. Okay? Same thing on this side. It doesn't matter which side you start with. It's just make your first cut on the shoulder side, like this. Take that other cut, V it out. Oops. And there you go. There's your boneless fillet. Okay? Now, I feel a little bone here I must have missed, so I'm just going to come back and make sure I get that last bone out there. And I always run my fingers around like that to make sure I did get all the bones out, and these are good. I don't feel any. Oop, yeah, I feel a couple right there. So I'm just going to come back and take a little nip and get that bone out. So now I have 2 completely boneless fillets. And look at the color on that. Look how opaque that is. That's just beautiful fish right there.